This is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast.
Oh no! We suck again!
I'm getting confused. What game are you calling?
I'm calling both games.
It is caught by Kelsey! Touchdown! Kansas City!
Anthony for three. Bang!
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike? Welcome to the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast, episode number 54. I'm Ruckus and The Menace.
And I'm Ruckus, always causing a ruckus.
And on this episode, we will be recapping things with the NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs and in our starting lineup. We will be giving our Eastwood segment of the good, bad, and the ugly. Seriously, Ruckus?
Wah wah wah.
Then we will be breaking down the NFL schedule in our high heat, having a color commentary where we had some kind of just the random suggestion box of ideas, and we will break them down. Then our primetime game involves a number climb with the stud, and then our studs and duds at the end, and we will have that as the summary of what this show will be. Ruckus, kind of how have things been holding up?
I've been doing a lot of pretty much playing MLB The Show, playing The Last of Us, grinding a little bit more through the last of what the season is for Battlefield 2042. As far as what I've been kind of watching, I been watching Bob's Burgers, been hanging out with the fam. Mother's Day was yesterday, and as for the recording, this comes out Tuesday, so it'll be a couple days. But Mother's Day was fun. Rewatched the Super Bowl for the bajillionth time. It never gets old, and that's not sarcasm. That, and then I have been just watching a lot of hobby things like PC related stuff for IT stuff, and 3D printing, because this is the kind of renaissance for the faster 3D printers to come out that become cheaper and more affordable compared to the last generation, which was print at a decent speed and be able to get a product out without having to deal with the headaches that is 3D printing. But other than that, yeah, that's what I've been doing. 3D printing toys for my niece. She is a bundle of joy. And yeah, Mother's Day was awesome. How about you?
Well, Mother's Day, I spent some time taking care of my grandfather, and also getting a little bit of time with a few of the hobbies, like grinding some MLB The Show, starting a little bit into the program. But then I've got some other responsibilities I got to take care of at home this week. But other than that, I mean, really, it's been just trying to navigate different things, trying to squeeze a little bit of time for some construction of things and the like. I'm really kind of just getting familiar with this new podcast schedule that we've been going on, but overall it's been good.
I'm not gonna lie, I really do like this podcast schedule. I feel like we don't have as much downtime, but when it comes to the weekend and what goes on with that, it gives us more to work off of versus what could have been happening during the week, because you never know if the week's going to be dead, or hell, even the weekends could be dead when it comes to sports, because like there's times where sports is active, and then there's times when there's not a whole lot to talk about.
Well, we're at a time right now where sports is kind of still somewhat lively because we've got postseason action.
We got the playoffs.
Well, let's just go right into it. My question to you, Ruckus, is do we want to start on the hardwood or on the ice?
I kind of want to start on the hardwood because
I'm going to kind of go against that because I think we'll just get the fast one out of the way, and that is the
wah,
ice. That is the ice
cold as ice, Spinnis is.
because we are actually in a situation of both series being down to, and this also is true in the NBA as well. And then there were four. The four teams remaining. We're going to start in the East for the NHL. The Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes. And on the West, the Las Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars. I know that we both kind of don't really pay attention to much hockey. But both of these series will start at the end of the week. Panthers Hurricanes will start on Thursday. And Stars Golden Knights will start on Friday.
Be cold as ice to me.
Well, and these are all best of sevens, and kind of unique. It's the Star. It's been a little while since the Stars have won the cup.
Speaking of cold as ice, this is a little bit foreign to me.
I caught where you were going with that. That was you could have just left that where it was.
You know, there's a reason why they call me Ruckus, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah. But in the NBA, why have we seen these final four teams before?
Because everybody else sucks.
Oh, that's right. These were the Mickey Mouse teams that were in the COVID bubble. The Lakers and the Nuggets in the West, and the Heat and the Celtics in the East. Although some of the faces are not the same, some of the faces still remain. But the question is, will the same two teams that made it in Orlando make it out 3 years later?
I think it's a battle of who wants it more, which is a no shit Sherlock answer of saying that. But in the end, it all comes down to just how good, if the Lakers can keep up what they were doing against the Warriors. And the Warriors kind of slumped in a couple of games. The last game where they got eliminated, Klay Thompson was not playoff Klay. The Splash Brothers just weren't producing a whole lot, and it showed. And the defense for the Lakers was subpar, but it was enough to get them over the hump and take out the Warriors. But also, the Warriors didn't really seem like the playoff team, and Draymond Green even said himself, this is not this team was not a championship team. But he was also probably running his mouth, like always.
Here's where I'm at with this. The real thing here is that the Golden State Warriors this year had one of the worst road records in the league. You normally cannot win a championship by simply winning them at home unless you have home court advantage.
Right, and then
especially if your opponent steals one.
And especially because the Lakers had a really rough start to the year too. They were projected to not even get into the playoffs because of just how terrible their start was, with Russell Westbrook being a starter, and that whole dynamic was just not good. And then he became better when he was with the Clippers, but they still didn't make it because they in the end weren't healthy. Kawhi
Because
Leonard
Russell
was.
Westbrook is not a championship caliber player.
I mean, he can't. I feel like he's more of like a on his own kind of player rather than part of like a big three squad or a big four, or whatever it is now. Because I
But
remember.
even still, that just that translates to my point even more. That
Mm,
Russell Westbrook is not a championship caliber player, or at least not to the championship caliber in terms of being a team player.
yeah, I just don't know what to think there. And then the 76ers. Whew. Uh, I don't know why they kept James Harden, but
Well, let's look at this a little bit more closely. Not really anybody for Philadelphia had a great shooting night. I mean, you had PJ, like, you had a little bit of balanced scoring with PJ Tucker, Tobias Harris. Joel Embiid had 15, and 8. Tyrese Maxey had 17. I mean, Harden just had a very, very pedestrian game. But then when you flip it over to Boston,
I feel like
it just
Boston
came
has
down.
star power to the max. Like Tatum, you got Jalen Brown, you got Marcus Smart, you got Malcolm Brogdon, right? Correct.
Yeah, Malcolm Brogdon, yeah. But simply put, the Philadelphia 76ers just could not check the hot hand that was Jason Tatum.
They also
Jason
could.
Tatum
They
and
also
Jalen
didn't trust.
Brown has become
Sorry,
a star all on his own, too.
they just didn't trust
Those
the
two,
process.
those two, Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown combined for 76 of Boston's 112. And Malcolm Brogdon had the other kind of, basically Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, and Malcolm Brogdon both combined, or all three combined, had the exact same amount of points that every single player of Philadelphia combined scored. And just Tatum looked he looked unstoppable. I
Yep.
mean, you could say, yeah, why did the Philadelphia 76ers still hang on to James Harden? It's just that James Harden is another one of those players that, again, I will say it, not a championship caliber player, but his is more so because in the moments where he needs to be the chosen one to step up, he becomes more like the frozen one. It's like you have to put out an APB just to find him.
Yeah. I We'll just have to see how things go. I'm rooting for the Celtics over the Heat, but at the same time, if the Heat win, good on them. As far as the Western Conference Finals, it'll be an interesting one because it's the Joker, Nikolai Jokic, versus LeBron and company, and we'll just see how things go. AD is pretty beat up. LeBron is kind of still there, but the young guys still have to show up. Lonnie Walker was really good in the series against Golden State. But Austin Reeves is a freaking maniac. I got to see
Austin
him.
Reeves is a real deal. Is showing that he is a real deal player.
I got to see him when I was at Wichita State my freshman year of college. That was pretty interesting to see. And then he transferred to Oklahoma, to the Okies.
Or to the Sooners, yeah, where he eventually became the player that he was. But I am ultimately, though the Lakers have been playing great basketball, I'm going to take the Nuggets, who are a little bit more well rested. And Nikola Jokic is a playmaker. Is a
Oh,
true,
yeah.
in every sense of the word, a playmaker. And I think that Nikola Jokic being a playmaker is going to be what makes that a huge thing, because they just limited CP3, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. And let alone, actually, Chris Paul was injured, so it was really Cameron Payne, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. But Nikola Jokic had a triple double in the closeout game. I just feel like Anthony Davis is not going to be able to truly limit what Nikola Jokic can do.
Yeah, for sure. Because like, if you think back to when Dwight Howard was with the Magic, and it was him versus.
Oh, you mean wannabe Shaq?
Yep, pretty much. I just remember that whole thing where it was him and Jameer Nelson were both on the same team, and I believe they were against the Lakers, right? Or was it the?
Well, it was the Lakers in the finals.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Because like if you compare in that period when Dwight Howard was pretty big and good then, or good enough to bring them over the hump to get to the NBA Finals. It could be kind of like the same kind of thing with Jokic versus LeBron and company. Like, yes, LeBron is on the Lakers, but still, I feel like it's going to be a very close knit thing, and I could be wrong.
There's a little bit of a difference, but there's a significant difference between Dwight Howard and Nikola Jokic.
Well, yeah,
and I'm not talking just the obvious. Nikola Jokic is basically, he's built big, almost like what, not quite the muscles that Dwight Howard would have, but he's built big. But he passes the ball much better, almost like what a Kevin Love could do.
Yeah.
And Nikola Jokic can stretch the floor and shoot just like kind of what most of these international players are able to do. And yes, I'm even including Giannis in that Giannis has also expanded a little bit of his range with a jump shot.
Oh, for sure, dude.
He's freakishly athletic. He's not going to be like a Dirk Nowitzki shooting. But...
Right.
But basically, it's like Nikola Jokic is kind of really like Dirk Nowitzki meets Kevin Love.
Yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting thing that happens there, and all the Warriors fans out there. My condolences, but at the same time, good. You guys had a good run for the most part.
Yep.
And
now, the Arlington. Some things that were, and now we have good news and bad news in DC. The Arlington Renegades beat the DC Renegades, the DC Renegades, 36-26. Though they're both a bunch of renegades. It's all a bunch of renegades.
All right, Rush, calm down.
36-26 to win the XFL championship. That's the bad news.
Speaking of renegades, Bob Stoops, the former head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners football, wins a professional championship football trophy. Yes, it's the XFL, but it's still professional. So congrats to Bob Stoops. Boomer Sooner. Sorry, go ahead.
But the good news in DC is that the sale of the Commanders has been finalized. And this will even transition into the good, as I will let you...
Wait, does this mean we can get a beer snake? Did we get a beer snake for this celebration?
I don't know if we would completely do that, but...
All right. I'm not gonna steal your thunder for too long.
But we have the Eastwood segment here of the Good, Bad, and the Ugly, because with that transition of the starting lineup, we go into the good.
You're welcome.
Of which we now can say, ding dong, the witch is dead, pending league approval. As down goes Daniel Snyder as the owner of the Washington Commanders.
Yep, and his blood money reigns on.
Oh, now instead of it being blood money, now it's now process money.
Oh no.
We have to trust the process now.
Yeah, let's just say screw the process. Let's just not act. Let's just not have an organization act like it's just like in the locker room. Dan Snyder's just like snorting cocaine off of a hooker's belly button or something like that, and then everybody else is like, "Yeah, do some more." Like that's what I picture Dan Snyder.
What are you thinking this organization is? Are you trying to really think that this is something like the Wolf of Wall Street?
I mean, here's the thing, man. Dan Schneider's a shitty human being. We all know this.
I mean, we know this, but we weren't necessarily trying to go the Leonardo DiCaprio, Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street route here.
I mean, that and there were some other money things that were going on where the FBI had to, or I don't know if it was the FBI, but it was like some federal organization raided their offices.
Alright.
So, anyways, what's bad?
So, while we had that kind of be the good, the not so good was we have what we call cardinal confusion in what to do with Wilson Contreras.
Because last week he literally was being told you're either playing DH or the outfield, and then this week they're like, you know what? That 5-year, $75 million contract, we're gonna need you to go back to catcher. That'd be just great.
Well,
and yes, I went Office Space. You're welcome.
I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden here in about 2 months, because of the trade deadline, that now the Cardinals GM is going to be saying, I think we're going to have to ship you off somewhere else.
That'll be just great. And I'll take that red stapler. That'll be great. But you can't do that. You can't do that. All right.
So that may not be the not so good thing, because it seems like the Cardinals just can't get out of their own way or figure out the way.
I mean, they do have Newt Bar helping them out. What do you think? Yeah. What do you think we should have for our ugly this week, Mr. Spennis?
Well, it was between two, but I think both of them, we've already got for later on in the show, or at least the podcast.
So do we just want to skip it?
We're probably gonna give it the old skip.
Skip.
Go straight to the high heat.
Skip. That's just terrible, Ernie. Just terrible. All right. So our NFL schedule talk.
All right.
The schedule released last week around Thursday. So here is the scoop here. Yep. All right, key games of interest.
So kind of to start out with week 1, there's really not a ton that kind of pops right out, except for the first Monday Night Football game of the year. And that is the Buffalo Bills taking on the New York Jets. It's a divisional matchup, but Mr. Rogers finally has his first home game in the neighborhood of MetLife. And this is his first major regular season opportunity for the Jets fans to be his neighbor.
They might want to discount double check.
Yeah, I don't hate where you were going with that, but I'm sure that would probably come with a Rogers rate too.
Yep. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Not sponsored, by the way, just as a disclosure.
Yep. Well, week 2, I think we've got a few notable matchups there. I mean, granted, the Jets have 6 primetime games, and this first notable one here is not one of them, but it is Aaron Rodgers versus Mike McCarthy with Jets Cowboys. A returning healthy Matthew Stafford
Matthew
taking on
Pafford.
the 49ers. But then I'm kind of intrigued into the Seahawks Lions in week 2 as well. Now, hear me out. Both of these teams were kind of right around that borderline of the playoffs last year. Geno Smith got himself extended out. Jared Goff kind of came into his own. See these two kind of square off.
Oh, for sure.
Could make for a very entertaining matchup that people don't realize.
Isn't Williams? Is it Jamal Williams that the wide receiver from Alabama that was drafted?
No, Jameson Williams will still
Oh,
be suspended at that point.
Okay.
Jameson Williams will still be suspended at that point.
Okay, because Jamal Williams was the running back that signed to the Saints this offseason.
Yes.
Okay, I got them mixed up.
Otherwise known as First Swag Kazakage, leader of the hidden village of the Den. Yes, he actually did that as a Sunday Night Football introduction. And week 2 also will feature the first matchup of the season between Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow.
Cash Money University.
Yep. And then we go to week 3. Although I think the Commanders will get curb stomped by the Bills. The Bills are still a very interesting opponent.
I mean, you still got your defense and stuff, and who knows? Because the Bills, when it came to the Bengals during the regular season and in the playoffs, not so good when it came to their offensive productivity.
Well, let's kind of factor in one notable thing that affected Josh Allen throwing the football is that he was dealing with a UCL issue. I'm sure he got that worked on and that was figured out.
Well, even then, the defense just didn't have an answer for the Bengals either. And
yeah, but the Bills were primarily a high-powered offense that was all about scoring the ball, and Josh Allen was not making as accurate of throws because of that elbow. For the record. But I would say that the main game that I see very interesting in week 3 when you really look at it is that there is a Super Bowl rematch with the Rams and the Bengals on Monday Night Football. But I'm going to say this is an interesting one between 2 wide receiver draft picks in Quentin Johnston and Jordan Addison, as the Chargers will take on the Vikings in week 3. Week 4. What kind of sticks out to you? I mean, obviously Dolphins Bills is going to be there. We're okay with that. I mean, Commanders Eagles, those are divisional games that are always going to have a little bit of entertainment value.
I mean, as far as the Chiefs,
there's a notable game that would go there, as in this is the
Aaron Rodgers versus Pat Mahomes. Is that what we were going?
Yep. Is this the Battle of State Farm 1?
You got the Patrick Mahomes price plan. You got the God. What was the character that Patrick Mahomes played when he was like the sneakerhead guy at like the Foot Locker?
He played a sneakerhead. He played a sneakerhead on one of them.
Coach, it happened again. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm hoping that doesn't happen where Aaron Rodgers somehow gets like injured or can't play due to an illness, because the past like 2 or 3 times it was literally because either Aaron Rodgers was hurt or he got COVID. Because like the last time it was because he had COVID, so it was Jordan Love that played. It was still a close game, but we ended up winning. But hopefully, hopefully this time.
So we are now getting the State Farm game that we're waiting for.
Yep, and like a good
And
neighbor, State Farm is there.
And if the sponsor of that game is State Farm, I will die.
It'd be funny if they put Andy Reid at the coin toss and then he had a Sharpie.
Oh my! Now week five, the best game that I'm seeing so far that is the international is a London game. Jaguars Bills playing at Tottenham Hotspur. So that one to me is a very highly entertaining matchup.
Crumpets and tea with some beans on the top. You're welcome.
Chiefs Vikings will make that interesting. I mean, Cowboys 49ers is always a staple. There's that. But then as we kind of scroll a little later into the season, I mean, Commanders Giants there, the Thanksgiving games are as follows: Packers Lions, Commanders Cowboys, 49ers Seahawks, and then the Black Friday game of Jets Dolphins. How do you feel about the Thanksgiving lineup?
That's week 12, correct?
Yep. That is week 12.
The Thanksgiving lineup, well, it's gonna be Lions Packers. That's gonna be a doozy, and let's be honest, they're probably gonna have some like crappy halftime show like last year, because let's be honest,
Wait, what did they have last year? Because I know
they had that one chick with David Guetta, I think, and they sang "I'm Blue." But the reason why I say it was crappy is because it wasn't on the field. It was like in an awkward part of like the stadium, and a lot of people were pissed off because they were the people that were at the stadium that bought tickets didn't have like a good view of it. So like that, and then like the whole thing just felt awkward.
And then the Cowboys always end up with a really good one, like a really good country act coming in for a halftime show. I think within like the last couple of years they had Luke Combs. Did Luke Combs do it?
I have no idea, dude. I think last year it was Bills Lions instead of Packers Lions. That was a good one. And then as far as every other team, I don't remember much about the Thanksgiving ones because I was mainly napping.
But then you also have, but then the races kind of tighten up, and of course the very end of the year the Commanders play the Cowboys. We know what happened the last time with that, but of course that's the flex week. But there's a lot of really good football to watch this year. And I think that, but then which teams do you think have it a little tougher this year? Or like what divisions do you think kind of have it a little tougher?
Well, I agree with you on the NFC East and the AFC East playing each other. But I also just agree on the fact that the division rivals for both the NFC East are big contenders because they're pretty much equal in certain areas. And then you have the AFC East for the most part is very competitive too, as far as the rivalry.
We have not had a repeat NFC East division winner for quite some time. It's been at least over a decade, almost two, since someone has won it back to back. So basically what I'm getting at with this is that, the NFC East is a division that does a really, really good job eating the snot out of each other.
Yep.
Big meaty men smacking meat.
Arby's,
I mean,
we have the meats.
that was not quite where I was going with that, but
Welcome.
but it's one of those things where it's those four teams just do an excellent job of like beating the snot out of each other, like siblings in the playground. The AFC East, believe they get paired. Because I'm trying to think of what their AFC counterpart that they're paired with. It looks like they're paired with the AFC North, which I think is a little softened up compared to the NFC East also getting the NFC West.
Yeah. Do we want to speed things up with the
Yeah,
easy?
we can kind of go. Yeah, I think some teams that have kind of got something a little bit eased up. I mean, you're saying the Chargers got an eased up schedule, but
Well, they're facing division rivals and stuff like that versus but also have some other teams that aren't like the biggest threat.
I mean, you're pairing up with like obviously the NFC North. That's something.
Because that first week you had the Dolphins, which is pretty difficult. Then you had the Titans, which is defensively difficult. Then you had the Vikings, which is okay, I guess. Then you had the Raiders, which is not gonna be that
But
big.
I don't think the schedule is technically soft for the Chargers because even though they play the Saints, as far as that crossover, they still play the AFC East. They still play the AFC East. The AFC East are not necessarily jokes.
Well, we haven't seen how they played. You gotta think, because the AFC West last year spent $2 billion to try to maybe get a chance or an inkling to where we were with Mahomes. And that division still has, by the way, Russell Wilson
Well,
and
that whole experiment in Denver was more so due to the fault. I blame Nathaniel Hackett for it, not
but
Russell
before
Wilson.
the season even started, people were saying, "Hey, the Chiefs are gonna be not gonna make the playoffs and this or that because Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett are gonna be uh do, be a, gel together and be a weapon for the
The
Broncos."
Broncos basically fell flat on their face.
Right, but I'm saying
The
before the season
Raiders,
even started, they were talking about that. The Raiders, they were talking about them being good because they had pass rush help and they're gonna try and get Mahomes. That and then Derek Carr with Devontae Adams, and now the car's in the shop. So who knows what could happen in the
well,
AFC
Derek Carr
East?
is now a New Orleans Saint. Now
Right.
Derek Carr is in the Bayou. So
Um.
you have a whole bunch of different things going on. It's basically after falling flat on their face, can Denver get back up? So I would say, yeah, you're saying that the Chargers may have it a little easy, but they don't. They still have to play the Jets. They still have to play the Patriots. They still have to play the Bills.
Well, the Patriots aren't the best right now on their squad. You got Mac Jones and maybe like a few other players that could help you a little bit. And then
There's that.
who
But
knows if the Jets are going to be good.
The Patriots are known for being a very good defensive team. The Jets are defensively no joke. So you're not necessarily sweating a lot. Like, you're not necessarily sweating a lot. The Chiefs have to deal with the Jaguars this year.
I bet you that the Jets implode harder than they ever have, and they don't make the playoffs.
Where are you thinking? Like, where is your over under on the record? Where are we setting the over under here? Are we setting it at 10 wins, or are we setting it at 9?
I'm gonna say 8 wins.
So you're thinking that the Jets will go worse than 8 and 9?
Correct?
Let's assess this. I am going to venture say that I think the Jets have a potential for more. They'll play.
I think Aaron Rodgers took a little bit too much ayahuasca last season, and I think it's gonna translate to this season.
You got the Broncos. The Battle of MetLife makes it interesting. The Raiders with Jimmy G. I mean, the Dolphins, whether or not Tua's healthy. They have the Falcons. They have the Texans. So their schedule's kind of softened up. Their schedule's kind of soft. And it gets a touch squishy on the back end. Well, I mean, not saying the Commanders are squishy, but
I mean, you kind of just did.
it's a little squishier than normal on the back end, because you have the Falcons and the Texans that could absorb a lot of those blows that they may take in the early on of the season. So I think the schedule is soft enough for the Jets that I think they can kind of make a little bit of a safe landing and not completely implode. I think they can get great. I think they've got 9. I think they've got 9 pretty handily if they stay healthy. And Salah's got that defense going. Because the Jets defense is no slouch.
They gotta stay healthy is the main part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, the staying healthy is one thing, but I think also the defensive support, offensive support. I mean, it's almost like how baseball has run support. Like, if a pitcher's got run support, you can run off of less pressure. So if the offense is supporting the defense well and keeping the defense off the field, then your defense is going to feel supported, and they're going to want to play better because they're fresher, because their legs are fresher.
Yeah. All right.
So you're thinking the Jets will come back down there. I'm thinking more so that the Giants will come back down to earth.
Yeah, part of me felt like it was a fluke that Saquon Barkley was healthy for most of the season, because the past couple seasons he was injured with leg problems and ankle problems.
Oh yeah, he was dealing with a whole bunch of knee issues. But here's some of the notable things that the Giants will have. The Giants do deal with the Packers. They do deal with the Packers, so that softens up a little bit. The Raiders can be a touch squishy. But I think that the Giants don't have as many, and especially the entire NFC East, it doesn't have as many like last year, where you're basically playing the entire AFC South that was just a train wreck. I see the AFC South kind of turning it around. So this is, and then the 49ers, it's more so just down to which quarterback's healthy and how well they play.
Yeah, because you still have Trey Lance, you still have Purdy. They're all gonna be recovering from injuries. Sam Darnold was signed to the 49ers.
Just in case you have a little bit less of health issues.
Yep.
But the latest trend that has been going on is we did this last year. The NFL teams have been releasing videos for their schedule.
Yes, sir.
Which teams have you found the schedule videos to be impressive, entertaining, hilarious, like the really good ones to watch.
I have not really seen them because I don't, for whatever reason, I don't get those release videos on my news feed on YouTube. So
You have
like,
to kind of look them up. You kind of have to look them up.
but also I feel like the release videos are kind of just like overhyped things. But I mean, I will let you have fun with it and let you explain what your favorite ones were because I have no
Okay.
freaking clue.
Okay.
Sorry
So
to
the
be
first one.
like a party pooper there. Just I
So the
don't know.
first one that I'm going to say sticks out. You have the Denver Broncos with their concept of The Office and Peyton Manning as Michael Scott. It didn't turn out horrible.
I would probably like that one.
I mean, you had no Stephen A. Smith for the Dallas Cowboys one again. So that's a little bit of a flop. The Jaguars tried to pull, like a lot of teams kind of tried to pull the NFL scripted type thing where they try and play off of that. Where that became like a running joke from last year. However, the Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals had a few really good ones because they would come up with stuff of certain things on one side for the opponent that they were playing and a Spotify playlist, like a Spotify background, like a Spotify thing on the other. So for some of the tame ones that we did see, um, they had the Pittsburgh Steelers one, where they said 1 foot, where the song title on the other side was 1 foot by Jump the Moon, in reference to the Santonio Holmes catch. But the one that had me like laughing until I cried, and Ruckus can vouch for it because he actually heard me on the other end doing that.
Mm-hmm.
The Cardinals have a game with the Cowboys this year. So they had a picture of Dak Prescott on one side and the Spotify picture and the Spotify playlist song on it was I Fall Apart by Post Malone.
Pretty
And
accurate.
and
Not,
I saw that pop up because I think Pat McAfee was reacting to it. I saw that picture and I lost it. Like I lost it. It was hilarious. Like it was hilarious. I mean, was it the best thing? Was the best scheduled video out of the bunch? No. But were some of the things spot on and hilarious? Absolutely.
yep.
The next one I'm going to go to is the Titans. So they went out to Broadway of Nashville and they did this man on the street style where they pretty much talk to people who don't know a lick about football. And they would show them a picture of a team logo that they were playing and kind of say like, who is that team?
So kind of like what Jay Leno would do on the Night Show or on the Tonight Show.
Something like that. Or like a Billy on the Street type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they kept mistaking the Indianapolis Colts logo for the Dallas Cowboys. For the Cowboys. Somebody called the Atlanta Falcons the Red Stallions. But the problem is, you look at the logo, it looks like a bird, not a horse. And they did a great job of editing that along. But
I think
again, the best design still once again has to go to the Los Angeles Chargers. Because yes, they did the anime style once again. And it was just as good this time around as it was the last time. But instead of it being let Russ cook for playing Denver, it was obviously the Sean Payton thing. But the funny one that I kind of cracked up on is that the Chargers play the Lions this year. And for the Chargers, they did the little like 1-800 gambler type thing. I'm like, it's timely. Like, timely. It actually was pretty funny. Like, it didn't get me to the point like what the Cardinals did. But the Chargers won with their design and all that. They've outdone themselves.
yeah.
And these teams, but we were hearing that some of these teams were kind of making the play off of the league being scripted. Some teams were using AI, kind of keeping things like toward modern times and current technologies and events, which had its share of humorous things. But the Chargers in in that anime thing and keeping that in touch was really, really good.
All right, should we get to the color commentary?
Yep, we shall. And this week's color commentary is the suggestion box, but we will go straight into the NFL question as we've kind of transitioned into it. Is the NFL not being creative enough in terms of certain placement of scheduling games?
I feel like they
Because
need to put more creativity, so I would say no.
I mean, you see like the teams like in a pattern every year, but it's kind of where that order just doesn't necessarily. Sometimes the order just feels incredibly repetitive. Because last year, we had a primetime game of the Bears and the Commanders on Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime Video. We have that again this year of a primetime game on Amazon Prime Video. The last one between the Commanders and the Bears that was on primetime was absolutely terrible. It was a terrible game. Nobody wants to watch that. Especially on a national stage. No.
I mean, no one really wanted to watch the Colts and Broncos. That was a dumpster fire of a game.
Yeah, you're getting a bunch of like terrible game. Like they're getting a whole bunch of terrible games and putting them on primetime so that Al Michaels could just sip his wine as he's watching it. Watching kind of the cluster mess happen on the field.
The Buster Cluck.
Basically. But this also kind of goes along in the way of saying, hey, the Commanders have been playing on Thanksgiving a little too often, especially against the Cowboys. Can we just move up the time slot and play the Lions on Thanksgiving for once? Like, can Washington please stay out of the national exposure? Because
are you telling me there's a chance that you'll beat the Lions on Thanksgiving? Because that's pretty high.
We play the Commanders, or no, we play the Cowboys. Cowboys.
Do you play the Renegades?
Oh my God. It's their own bunch of renegades. It's probably me trying to read. It was me trying to read through what I wrote too fast and accidentally doubling back. It happens.
You're a renegade. All right.
But
so I want to get into this next question because this is gonna revolve around the MLB now. So one is should the MLB have a salary cap? And or can I also rephrase this question? Should each MLB team have a set like salary cap as far as so like they are pretty much like forced to use whatever that cap is instead of pickpocketing that money for themselves, like the owners themselves? Because there's teams that'll do that.
Yeah. But you're basically saying like, should the NFL have or should the MLB have a salary cap a little bit more like the NFL?
Right. I feel like it would be more interesting as far as how many players could like huddle up on a team for either big deals or smaller deals, because in a sense uh
So what you're basically wanting the MLB to do is you're wanting the MLB to establish a salary cap to kind of bring parity to the league.
right, I want there to be more teams that have like equal opportunities to like actually have success, and not just the ones that spend like almost billions of dollars just to make their team better, when in reality they make it semi the same as what it was before, but they add like overpaid players. Like for example, the Mets. You had um, the previous owner before Cohen, I think. Um, the previous owners didn't want to spend it all, and then the next owner that bought the rights to the team spent like about a billion or so on players, and also paying the existing players that were on there. Well, I mean, they got to the division series, but they didn't get far, but that's also based on luck too. Like the LA teams that are around, you have the Padres, you have the Dodgers, and I mean LA as in California, by the way, for people listening. Um, and then you have uh, the Angels and the Athletics. And the Athletics, in this case, are one of the very low budget oriented teams out there. And when it comes to the baseball, I feel like there just needs to be more control over how much the managers have to, like the owners have to spend on their team, rather than, you know, being told, oh, um, you have the flexibility to spend yay amount on your team versus keeping whatever you get for the season. Because obviously the owners want to pickpocket as much money as they can, but I feel like um, we need to like restrict that as much as possible. Because I feel like if you're gonna own a team and you want people to come around and surround themselves in the culture that you've created, you need to at least like give them a reason rather than a reason to hate or not want to go to that area, like a stadium, for example. Like the Athletics location for a stadium, which is our next suggestion box, is.
Well, hold up.
Go ahead.
I am trying to actually look up the research as far as basically like where the bang for your buck, like on that payroll. Look, like really just trying to double check the payrolls of like all of your World Series winners.
The Royals, when they won in 2015, was about 120 million, I think, for their payroll, or it might have been a little bit more. I don't remember. I just remember it was above 100 million. The Yankees, when they went on their talent spree, and they would like build a dream team or try to like outdo the Red Sox when that rivalry was like still really big in the early 2000s and late 90s. The Yankees pretty much had starter talent on starting and on the bench, just ready to go, and then you had your pitchers and whatnot, star-studded casts. I don't know. I would rather it be something like where so you know how like on social media sometimes you'll see like the memes where it's like
Yeah.
you have this amount to spend or this amount of points to spend, and these categories are for different tiers, and one could be like 5 points, and it could be like Aaron Judge, um, Pete Alonso, Salvador Perez, and just like the veterans that have been there that are still fairly clutch and good at the game for 5 points. And then four goes to like something for a lower tier and whatnot. And you have like, let's say, 30 points.
Yeah. Yeah, but the problem is that the salary caps is not dealing with points, it's you're dealing with money.
Right. I was just kind of putting it in a sense of uh, figuring out how to sparse that too. Besides, I don't know. I was just making a rough estimate and thought to that rather than a
Yeah.
set in stone plan to that
So,
thought.
from as of 2019, 17 of the 25 World Series winners since divisional play had started had payrolls in the top 10 of the league. 14 of them were in the top 5. The Dodgers have spent an amazing amount of money. Their high payroll was the most of this decade. The Nats won the World Series with just the fourth largest payroll of the game at the top of the luxury tax line. Boston won it with the highest payroll in
How much
2018.
what was their payroll? Can you name numbers?
Um, Boston, what, in 2018 for Boston? Or are you to
I was talking about Nationals.
the Nationals? I don't. There was at about. I think the high was about 236, but it was low end. But the payroll was 197.
Because I think the Royals was way lower than that.
112.
Yeah. So like, and then the A's was even lower than that, like way lower.
Wait, you're
Whenever,
talking the. Well, but obviously, but money also has inflated over the years.
yeah, but well, anyways, uh,
But the
the
2003 Marlins were a huge outlier that they were the only team with a payroll not in at least the top half of the league to take a series in the last 25 years. The 2008 Phillies were only 13th, and the 2011 Cardinals were the 11th highest. And the first outlier was yes that 2015 Kansas City Royals team where they were 17th. Houston was also 17th in payroll. So you have
part of me it just feels like, um, also the
so
like
yeah.
California teams are like very higher up there with like their dream team status when it comes to the talent they have. Like the Padres, they have Machado, you got Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis, um, and like Jake Cronenworth and all these other big name guys on one team, and then you got the Dodgers with Freeman and Muncy, Taylor, Will Smith, and all these big name
Yeah.
guys. It feels like they're becoming the new like Yankees Red Sox kind of rivalry in a sense, where it's like, okay, who has like the best talent on both sides, whereas back in the day it was Red Sox and Yankees, and there were some big names on both sides, and they
Oh,
always tried to
yeah.
one up.
Yeah, but I mean, but every one of those teams there is like big market. But what has really shown that even though these teams have had no salary cap, they've won with teams who have been lower on the payroll still have won World Series. So payroll has shown at times through the outliers that payroll does not always translate into commissioner's trophies. Everyone could believe that statement with saying like, "Oh, the New York Yankees did it. Why can't we?" The Yankees at the time, it's like they weren't just anybody. You can't be some like schmuck trying to do that. It was the Steinbrenner way that they were able to do that. But you've got some of these teams who who don't spend as much money because they're not in as big of a market. But yet at the same time, they have teams that play well together. They're well managed, and they win a World Series. So
Yeah.
I think that there is a little more. There's a little more to it than meets the eye, and it would be a little bit more difficult to get that approved, especially because the bigger market teams are going to try and bully their way to say now.
Right. And also like as far as the California teams go, like the way they're like taxed is pretty heavy too. And
Yeah,
so like go ahead,
so it's
sorry.
not quite going to be as much money coming out.
Right. But yeah. My main point was pretty much like um would there be like a way to like force it to where um there's like more parity in the league, I guess, in a sense, because now that I think about it, it's not that easy.
Yeah, it's not that easy, and also, really, baseball is a very difficult sport as it is anyway. The parity is in the game itself.
Do we want to exit that talk with the athletics, or are we just done with the MLB? Because I'm ready
I
for
think
another one.
yeah, I think let's get into another one here. I mean, obviously, we have the Oakland Athletics. I think that we're still kind of waiting a little bit more to kind of see what that's going to be on, but I think the next one I'm going to say is does Dylan Brooks' production warrant a $25 million a year contract? Yes, I saw
Um,
something the other week that said it was like, oh, Dylan Brooks won a $25 million contract, but yet Memphis has said that they will not re-sign him.
there's always someone better, no matter where you look. To
True.
like, I mean, look at what the Chiefs did with Orlando Brown. He wanted a big contract. He wanted to be like at least the second highest paid left tackle in the league, and he ended up not getting that. So like, obviously that's a different league in itself, but like, I mean, it's kind of about the same situation where it's like, oh, I want this amount of money, and then the team's like, well, sorry, we're not gonna do that. So good luck trying to get that somewhere else, or go for a team-friendly deal if you want to still play with Memphis.
I I'm going to say this. I don't know if a team will even pursue a 25 million with him because I don't think the production numbers necessarily match up. I mean, he's a defensive guy, but at the same time, you poked a freaking bear with LeBron James.
Yeah.
One does not simply do that, expect to get away with it, and feel like you're thriving. I mean, his career average, he's averaging 14 and a half a game with 3 boards and 2 assists. I feel that the rebound numbers and assist numbers, especially for a player at his position, are a little too pedestrian, especially for him as a role player, to be worth 25 million a year.
Yeah.
Sorry. Next.
All right.
And I think our last major question here is
This is a
does the
good one.
2023 XFL season and the success of Wrexham over in Wales over the 2022-23 campaign show a great display of the virtues and vices of ownership of professional sports teams for celebrities to get involved?
I feel like with the
I,
XFL, it's a little timid when it comes to just like the amount of press for it and just the amount of advertisement for it. I feel like they could have done more, but Wrexham sounds like they've done a lot better job with that. But I'll let you take over the Wrexham part of this
I think the
question.
Wrexham side of it, it's more so that it kind of in talking about the XFL, it's like, yeah, The Rock had to put a lot of money into this. And granted, the main thing that's really the big thing about this whole thing with the XFL, this is only just the first year with it. Like, this is only, we're only seeing the very beginnings of this coming in. Yes, the XFL has existed in two other instances. Vince McMahon was involved with both of them, and Vincent Kennedy McMahon has had it flop both times. However, I think The Rock has started to find something that is somewhat sustainable.
Also, The Rock is probably more financially sustainable too, because he's still in movies and making the money through that, but also
Yeah.
using that as an investment because
I mean,
it'll grow
but then
over
he's also
time.
endorsing like 5,000 other things. He's got his own energy drink. He's got his own alcohol. He's got his own this. He's got his own that. So you've got The Rock kind of like, and he's got his own line with Under Armour. Kind of really just about everyone.
I mean, if it wasn't The Rock, it could have been Shaq for all we care. He's got a lot of endorsements too. He's even got he's also got an ad for the General, which is that auto insurance
Yeah,
company.
yeah. But with Wrexham, it's like it was a much smaller investment. I don't think it was as large of an investment for Reynolds and McElhaney to.
Actually,
Yeah,
keep
because the
going,
purchase
keep going.
price, like they really only paid about 2.5 million.
That's in pounds, I think. So, but
No,
yeah.
I said 2.5. I said no, it was £2 million, which is about $2.5 million.
Oh, okay, yeah. Good on the conversion there. Sorry, I was about
Yeah,
to.
yeah. They basically paid for this non-league club. Paid about 2.5 million. They've gotten them promoted once.
And what's the league called for that again?
In League Two, and if they would have bought a League Two side, that would have been 5 times as much. And then the Premier League teams go up into the billions. So they've
So
so
it's
they
EFL
basically
League
have
Two.
taken what's up?
Is it called EFL
The
League
league,
Two?
yeah, EFL League Two, yes. So basically, what Wrexham has done is that they've taken this league, or they've or that Reynolds and McElhaney have taken this team that they really didn't spend that much money, and the team has success. They got promoted, and now this team is quintupled its true value, or quintupled the value of where it stands. So their $2.5 million investment, pretty much now, if they were to sell the team, they could get at least 12 million out of it.
Trying to figure out. So fun fact: only 3 League 2 players earn over $317,000 per season in the year of 2022 to 23. Those players were Matty Longstaff, Ellery Balcom, and Paris Maghoma. So like when you think of it in that sense, like that's not much at all. That's like That's like 3 minor league players if they all got 100K each.
Yeah, it's like they basically have earned. They basically earned enough money. Like they profited off of that. I mean, The Rock probably overall net. I don't.
And the rookie minimum contract in the NFL is like over half a million, 660,000 as of the 2021 season, and it just keeps going up from there. In 2023, it was slated to rise 750,000, so 750,000 just for one player. Whereas in this, I mean, also it's League 2. I don't even know how much League 1 players get. League 1.
Yeah. So The Rock purchased the XFL for 15 million. So basically, he purchased the rights to it for like 8 teams in the NFL. It says Rome wasn't built in a day. This league isn't going to be built in a day. So he's kind of just working on it, and The Rock is showing it's kind of picking up. It's just you kind of have to spend wisely at that point.
Do you smell what The Rock is cooking?
Yeah. I'm picking up what he's put. I'm picking up what's being put down. And the XFL. Basically, where it was the estimated tickets, they invested around 15 million. So pretty much, and the ticket prices weren't horrible. They weren't horrible. So really, they were estimated to earn, like they were estimated to go to at least have a small profit. To at least have a small profit.
All right. I think we need to go to the primetime game. What do you think?
Yep. All right, so here we go. Now we go to the primetime, which is our jersey number. So we are working together to see if we can name players from the number 0 to 99 with limited usage of Google or research. You can use research to confirm. You can use research to confirm, or if we may kind of run into a little bit of. I would say probably as we get into like the 50s, if we make this climb work.
Okay.
All right, and I will let you go first, as you will have the number 0.
Players that wore the number 0.
Yep, and we're just going with 1 because we're gonna go back and.
Ah, shit.
And you can use the NFL, NBA, MLB.
Oh, Gilbert Arenas.
All right. Let's say Justin Fields for 1. You're at 2. And you can use past or present. You can use past or present.
For number 2, I'm gonna pick frick. Players that wore number 2. Oh, Derek Jeter.
Yeah, I was gonna say right away. I thought you would have Derek Jeter.
The thing was, what made me think of that was the announcer over the PM system going, Derek Jeter, number 2.
Yep.
Derek, number 2.
Yeah. Yeah, it was and Jeter, after the guy that did the public address announce for that passed, he would only use his voice. So they actually had the voice recording done for him. You're now at 4.
What did you do for 3?
I said Allen Iverson.
Okay. For 4, Brett Favre.
Donovan McNabb.
Okay, for 6, I'm gonna put um. Hmm. I'm gonna put LeBron James.
Yeah. Yep, that was pretty straightforward there. I'm gonna go with Joe Theismann.
Great, Kobe Bryant.
Yep. Now number 9. Now 9 makes this very, very interesting, and I am going to go with Brazil. Like, in this, saying Brazil in this case. Brazil's Ronaldo. Because yeah, if I were to say Ronaldo, you could say, oh no, I'm going with Brazil's Ronaldo.
Yeah, that's fine. Number 10, I'm gonna pick. Um,
I see a
God
couple of
dang.
different. I see a couple of
Um,
different directions you could go with this.
how far are we going on this? Till like 20 or so? Because I feel like we need to make this short. 10. Um, okay, I'm gonna need a lifeline.
Well, I had Lionel Messi there at 10. I had Lionel Messi
Uh, I,
because
I,
you
I,
pretty much could pull like soccer. You also could use soccer,
I'm
so
gonna
that's
say
why I went.
Tyreek Hill. I forgot he wore
Yeah,
10.
Tyreek Hill. 11. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mike Conley. I'm gonna confirm. I believe Mike Conley.
He wore number
Well, that would
11.
have.
He
Yeah, because
wore
he
it
was
with the
number.
Jazz.
Yep,
He
number
went
11 with the
from
Jazz.
11 to
Yep.
10, and then 11 again, and then to 10.
Yep. Yep. So now you're at 12.
And that is Tom Brady.
Wasn't gonna say. I thought Mike Evans, but I was gonna say Dan Marino for 13. At 7, I should have said Elway, but you're at 14.
Um, I'm gonna have to say for 14, I'm gonna put Stephon Diggs.
Yep. That would work. I think you wore 14 in Minnesota. I'm going Carmelo Anthony.
Okay.
Yep, because he wore number 15 in Denver. 16.
16. I Pau Gasol.
Philip Rivers.
So number 18,
Yep.
Peyton Manning.
Johnny Unitas. You're now at 20.
Um, 20 is Justin Reed. Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
that was good. My first thought was Barry Sanders. Um, I'm going with prime time. Deion Sanders, 21.
22. I'm gonna go with um the new number for I think Trent McDuffie's new number is 22. Because he
I
went
think
from, but
I'm I'm surprised you didn't go with like Emmett or something. Emmett Smith.
I think he changed his name or changed his number to 22. I'm just gonna say
'Cause I
Trent
think you,
McDuffie.
because I think you're like Emmett Smith or Jimmy Butler.
Eh.
Of course, for 23, I'm going with Michael Jordan.
For 24, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Jeff Gordon from NASCAR.
Yeah, from NASCAR. Yep. Mark McGuire. You've got
Let's
26.
stop at 30.
Yeah.
So for
Oh, I had a
20,
couple of really good ones, like higher up the way that I was figuring out.
we'll use those as novel mentions. For 26, I have um Damian Williams.
27, I'm going with Mike Trout.
Number 28, I'm gonna go with um you
I
said
had Daryl.
28.
I had Daryl Green there. Daryl Green from Washington.
I'm gonna go with Adrian Pearson.
Yep, that's a good one. You also could have used Adrian Peterson for 26 as well. That was the number he actually wore in DC because 28 was unofficially retired. 29, I'm going with Joseph Adai, the Indianapolis Colts.
And then for the last one for me, I'm gonna go with Ken Griffey Jr.
Yep. At 31, I would have had Greg Maddox. At 37, I had Larry Centers. At 47, I'd have had John Lynch. 54, I probably would have put Brian Urlacher. 91, I would have put Dennis Rodman. Of course, 99, where I would have ended it, would have been probably Aaron Judge. So so that kind of had some fun. That kind of had some fun. I think we were just kind of doing that as like a little work together. But then all of a sudden it'd be like, do we? If we tried and did this without, we'd only be able to go so far.
Also, I think the experiment was a success for the most part. We just need to tune it later.
Yep.
All right, let's do our studs and duds to round this out.
Yep.
Do you want to go ahead first, or you want me to go
I'll
first?
go ahead and go first here or at least my stud. I'm gonna do the Heat Center Bam Adebayo because this being Mother's Day weekend, took a call from his mother during his news conference following the Heat victory to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. Actually, for kind of like just stopping the press conference at a certain point to actually take the phone call. I mean, his mother kind of calling to congratulate him, and he happened to actually have the have the thing there. And I know you were definitely going into
So
the
for my
Mother's Day thing. Yep.
Yeah, so for my stud, I have the Kansas City Chiefs YouTube page put out a video on Mother's Day of shouting out Chiefs players and their mothers with photos of the Chiefs players with their moms, and narration for the video was done by Creed Humphrey's mother. It was very touching.
I'm surprised they didn't pull like Travis Kelsey's for this because she's already. But I think she had probably already gotten all that exposure from the Super Bowl. So
Yeah, she already. Well, they probably also wanted a different voice in general, and
that
not
is
just.
true. Yeah. But then our duds were a little different because they would have been good ideas for the ugly. Mine
Yeah.
involves the suspension of Ja Morant for being caught on camera on IG Live with a gun in his what looked like his left hand.
Yeah, and the dude's stupid. For one, I think it's a very bad look on him, and he was even before that doing like the Crip gang sign during a game at one point. He also beat up a 17-year-old kid a while back, and then pulled out a gun then too. His friend got kicked out for life of a game at the Pacers, uh,
Yeah.
and it's just not. I is on a very thin thread.
A very short leash, pretty much.
Yeah, it's not good for him.
Yep.
And
And
then
then
my
I'm sorry,
dud, my
and your dud.
my dud is Bryce Harper for getting heated with the Rockies pitcher Jake Bird. It had been, I don't know, the Phillies are in a rough spot or rough patch with how things have been going there, so it makes sense that they were heated. But yeah, that's my
Well, and it
dud.
wouldn't surprise me if Bryce's mom in the stadium was saying "knock you out."
And then afterwards, he had to call his mama.
Yep. But that'll do it for us today for on this episode of Ruckus and the Menace podcast. I'm Spence the Menace.
And I am Ruckus, always causing a ruckus. I was
Yep,
gonna say I am the Renegades, but you know.
and we thank you for listening, and we thank you for listening to this episode. Deuces.
Thank you.